Hey, it's David. So, after last week's episode, did anyone end up feeling the same way I did, that almost inadvertently, I ended up finding a new show format? Like, maybe this is what the podcast is supposed to be. I wasn't trying to experiment and find a new format for the show. That's not what I had in mind. And yet that seems to be kind of where we landed. And I laugh because there's some reshuffling in my life right now. I already told you that things are going well in a lot of different ways. Yeah, there's aspects of life that aren't going exactly the way I want them to go, but so many things are headed in the right direction, which I always find exciting. And then when push comes to shove, as far as the workload's concerned, it starts to get kind of heavy. And then I start to notice the free time I don't have. Then I start to notice the sleep I'm losing. Then I start to notice how tired I really end up feeling. And I didn't wake up feeling especially energized today. Again, it's not like I'm doing things I hate. It's not like it's soul killing. It's none of that. It's simply, I think, the velocity and the volume of work. But we find ourselves at this interesting crossroads of sorts. I wasn't necessarily thinking about completely phasing out creativity, excitement, emotion to begin with, but now my thoughts are kind of turning more towards, okay, I may want to put some things temporarily on hold. You'll be the first to know when that happens. So we're not really talking about anything concrete just yet, because here I am. I'm back with another episode, right? And we made this happen. And I'm not recording this on a Friday night. Fortunately, I happen to be recording it on a Thursday night after an amazing live stream I just had with my guest, Maria Foster-Lango, who also happens to be a friend of mine in Vancouver, which is great. But the thing that I wanted to come back to that I found really interesting, I heard this many years ago, that Seth Godin had basically declared podcasting the new blogging. The interesting thing about this, I understood this from a marketer perspective, and I honestly thought that's what he was talking about, because Seth Godin himself is known as an expert marketer. That's kind of what he's a thought leader in, right? He's done things in different industries, music being one of them, but his books largely seem to be about marketing, and that's what he's known as a thought leader for. So from that perspective, I was thinking, yeah, podcasting is the new blogging, so people should start moving over to multimedia formats because that's just the right thing to do, right? So that's kind of where my mind went. And then also from a promoter or marketer perspective, and I know these are bad words. This is the creativity podcast. This is an artist podcast. Somehow we always end up coming back to these topics of marketing and promotion. But we need to do it, right? We can call it something else. We can mask it in language and sugarcoat it and candy coat it if we want. At the end of the day, we're talking about things we got to do. I'll do another episode on that because I want to talk about being personable, and I think that's really, really important and sometimes missed in the music industry. But we'll get to that. So, podcasting from a promotion or marketing perspective, the really cool thing about it is you get to record one episode and it's published automatically to many platforms. Now, of course, you might have to use a plugin. I use the Blueberry PowerPress plugin, which is fantastic. I think I even subscribe to their analytics function because I like to get access to that type of data. It's not especially relevant to me right now, but I do like to look at download numbers and stuff like that. And that is helpful. With the push of a button, it doesn't just get published on my website. A podcast episode gets published across an array of platforms, as long as you have those connected correctly. Places like Amazon and Spotify and Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, as the case might be, and Deezer, and all kinds of places. iHeartRadio, which blew me away. It's like, oh, what? I get to connect over there too? That's cool. That's a place I should be because my audience is primarily artists and musicians and other types of creatives and creators. So what a magical opportunity. Podcasting is the new blogging. So cool. Yeah, that's true. But there's something deeper I'm finally coming to realize. What Seth Godin was talking about was exactly what I did last week, which is I showed up, I put some music on in the background, and I did a little bit of introspection and reflection and shared what was going on in my life. How success can honestly look like a little bit of chaos, right? Because life can suddenly go from kind of being what it always is, or the pace that it always is, to overdrive. And when it goes to overdrive, you're like, holy cow, it's exciting. And then, what I referenced earlier happens. You get going and you're excited and it's fun, and you start to get tired, and you start to notice the free time you don't have, and you start to notice that you're probably doing too many things, which is exactly what happened to me. I don't know if I said that already or not, but I was like, I think I'm actually my intention is to do 2 or 3 things. That's it throughout the day, like in major categories. And it still seems like I'm doing 4 or 5 things. And that's why this reshuffling is happening earlier. But let me get back on track. So podcasting being the new blogging, this is what it is. It's me showing up like this and sharing updates or sharing what's going on. And that's why I have a feeling this works very well, because every other channel that I've got now is primarily about other people, which is the way it should be, I think. I want to be interviewing people. I want to be spotlighting people. I want to be interviewing them using my skills or using my experience or whatever it is. I think it's just my easygoing demeanor and maybe some other qualities that I'm not honestly personally aware of. If you know what they are, tell me, because I just need to know. I'm not fishing for compliments or anything like that. There's qualities of myself that helps me land in the types of positions I want to be in, either financially or in terms of work or in terms of other advantageous situations. There's things about me that land me there, and I'm not totally aware of what they all are. I kind of know, kind of have a sense of it, but I really don't have enough self-awareness to know, which is the weirdest thing. It really is weird, because being a really great musician, and I think I'm pretty good at guitar, okay, that requires a tremendous amount of self-awareness. You have to have the ability to be self-critical. Not critical to the point of beating yourself up, but critical to the point of like, I don't know if I'm that good at that yet. Because I've seen other people who attempted to be guitarists or who attempted to be musicians, they didn't have that capacity to be self-critical. So even if they totally sucked, I mean, I'm sorry to be that blunt, but even if they totally sucked, they couldn't recognize it for themselves because they weren't self-critical in that capacity. So to be a really good musician, or to be really good at performing and playing the craft of it, not necessarily the performance of it, because that can sometimes be a different thing. You know, Britney Spears doesn't have to be great at singing to have worldwide fame. She's good enough. She's a great dancer, by the way, and she is a good performer. But being a singer is a whole other thing. And of course, singing and dancing is actually hard. That kind of stuff is not easy at all. So I'm not making light of that at all. I think she's good at what she does. But the point being that if when we're just talking about the craft side of it, not necessarily the whole package of trying to be a pop star and having the right branding and image and all that stuff, then you have to have a self-critical capacity to do it. And I would say to be a really good performer, of course, you would have to have that too. Or at the very least, the willingness to listen to a coach who's watching you and giving you advice. If you don't have one of those two things, you're hooped in this. You're never going to be that good, the way I see it. The other cool thing about podcasting being the new blogging, and honestly, this could totally fall out of fashion. We might have fallen out of fashion already, and I don't even know it. Still podcasting in an age when people are prioritizing video. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. To be fair, though, I am prioritizing video content now, so I don't think I'm a laggard. It's one of those things where the adoption curve of podcast has actually taken much longer than expected. Some things were kind of instantaneous, and podcasting to reach mainstream consciousness, it seems like it's almost taken really into the last 5 years for that to happen. And that means podcasting has been in existence for about 20 years. I don't remember the exact date. Was it the late 90s or was it the early 2000s? I don't really remember. But it's taken a long time for that adoption cycle to come to what it is now. So, but people now have an awareness of podcasts. So honestly, I think we might be in the midst of the podcast revolution. But the other thing that I realized was, wow, I can take an episode like this and it sounds like I'm just talking and rambling a bit. But when I create a summary for it, and I do collaborate with AI in coming up with a summary, by the way, full disclosure, I don't mean any harm by my use of AI in any way, shape, or form. However, what it allows me to do is it allows me to go beyond what I talk about this episode and actually find action steps within it, actually find valuable lessons and learnings within it. And AI helps me do that in a way that probably would take me much longer to do. And that's one of the really flipping cool things about this, because in a way, the summary can be something completely else. It can be very detailed and it can contain a lot of valuable information. It's still going to contain the essence of this episode, of course, but we can go beyond the episode and provide valuable stats or quotes or studies or incorporate other elements that possibly just wouldn't be there. I mean, a podcast is always a person's perspective at the end of the day, and that's what's going to continue to make it valuable, to be honest, is that you're getting the perspective of the person who's speaking. And, look, some shows have different formats, and we could get into that, but if you're following someone like me, or if you're following another teacher or coach, or let's say marketer, there's the dirty word, then what you're getting is a perspective, and that perspective can be a valuable thing depending on what you need to learn right now and the things that you're interested in engaged with right now. So that's what I wanted to say, is I think Seth Godin is right, and I can see how he was right on a deeper level now than before. I think I understood it from a perspective of a marketer, but now I can kind of see from the perspective of, like the way in which I can leverage this content, the way in which I can show up and have this be almost like a weekly update, or this is what I've been up to on a personal level, and not have to have it be some kind of brand or have to have it be a business promotion tool. I mean, yeah, to an extent the podcast does that, but I don't think most people are creating content. I mean, YouTubers being the exception, you make content for the income in a way, but most content creators are not expecting out the gate that content is what's going to bring them business. It's going to help them build their business. They know that, and I know that too. And you got to show up and do it if you're serious about this. There's just no bones about it. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you got something out of this. Again, when and if I put anything on pause, you will know. Chances are I'm going to have to do some reshuffling and just figure out how I can do 2 or 3 things and not 4 or 5 things right now, because that's a little bit much. I want to fit in my workouts. I want to fit in my meditation. I want to continue to have good habits in my routine, and pretty much the only reason that may not be happening, I mean, it's happening again, but the only reason that wouldn't be happening is because of the choices I'm making. So it's really up to me to create a system or to create a schedule that works for me and to ensure that is a sustainable thing. So that's my goal, and when there are things to share, I will share them. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Creativity, Excitement, Emotion. I'm David. Look forward to sharing another one of these updates with you. Unlock the secrets to skyrocketing your productivity, boosting performance, and maximizing profits with my latest premium guide, the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Blackbook. Tailored for independent artists and entrepreneurs, this comprehensive resource is your roadmap to turning ideas into reality. Say goodbye to abandoned projects collecting dust on your shelves or buried in your hard drives. It's time to bring your vision to life. Grab your free copy of the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Blackbook now at davidandrewweeb.com/blackbook. That's WIEBE. Don't miss out on the key to unlocking your success.